Let's move on now to the second email today. Ashley, what's up next?
All right. This is from Semere. Hey, John. Well, let me tell you something, brother. The Hollywood Reporter just announced that Thor himself, Chris Hemsworth, is signed on to play Hulk Hogan in a biopic. I just want to ask, what you gonna do when Hogan, with his 24-inch python and all the Hulkamaniacs, come running wild to a theater near you?
Yeah, this is interesting. Now, we heard a while ago that there was a Hulk Hogan biopic in the works that was going to focus a lot on the big scandal that happened around Hulk Hogan with the sex tape scandal that ultimately led to him suing Gawker out of existence, right? And that whole thing. And I thought that all sounded fascinating. What we're seeing now and what they're reporting now is that this movie will have nothing to do with that. It won't have anything to do with that, about any of the controversies or whatever surrounding Hulk Hogan. It's going to be earlier in his life and his rise to becoming Hulk Hogan. Terry Bollea, I believe, is his actual real legal name, and his rise to being Hulk Hogan. So, number one, I was a little bit disappointed. To find out they weren't going to cover that story about, the sex scandal and then the lawsuit that he brought against Gawker, and then how Gawker then went out of business as a result of it, and blah, blah, blah. I was looking forward to that movie. Mm-hmm. Now, on top of the fact that Chris Hemsworth, and we'll talk about that in a second, Chris Hemsworth is going to play this role. The other interesting thing here is that the Joker tandem, Todd Phillips and his screenwriter from The Joker, are directing and screenwriting this particular movie. So that puts an interesting spin on this as well. But okay, Chris Hemsworth. First of all, maybe if the guy gets in shape. Maybe if this guy gets in shape and gets his lazy Aussie ass off the couch and maybe tries a little bit of exercise, maybe. Listen, I never would have guessed in a million years that Chris Hemsworth would be Hulk Hogan. Can he pull off the physique of Hulk Hogan? Absolutely. Can he give a performance worthy of something like this? Sure. But I'm just going to admit, if you would give me a list of 100 names not necessarily who I'd want to see play it, but who I thought we'd see play it. If you gave me a list of 100 names and Chris Hemsworth's name was on that list, he might have been around 70 or 80th on the list. I just wouldn't have seen it coming, but I got to admit, I'm pretty intrigued. Rob, you heard about this whole thing. Number one, what do you think about the casting of Chris Hemsworth? And number two, what do you think about the sounds of the biopic at all in general?
Well, I've loved Hulk Hogan. How can you not love, after you see Rocky 3, how can you not love Hulk Hogan?
The ultimate male versus the ultimate meatball.
Meatball. I mean, it's very interesting. A lot of people don't remember this, but I was a big Fangoria magazine kid. And there was a period of time because John Carpenter, the director, was a big fan of wrestling, and Fangoria magazine started covering wrestling a lot. And I knew nothing about wrestling, and frankly, I'm not a huge fan of it even now, but I got kind of into it. I kind of like I wanted to know about the history of wrestling. And at the time, Hulk Hogan was such a dominant personality in the sport. And sorry, John, I mean, I know you're a fan of wrestling, but I love
It's called sports entertainment. They call it sports entertainment.
I loved Hulk Hogan. I mean, I loved his persona. I loved what he was doing. He was so large. He was like a kaiju. He was like a Japanese monster. He had that kind of larger than life persona, and I just really got into him. And when I was a younger man, and I can't wait to see this movie. And I think Chris Hemsworth, he'll even have a real beard. He has the beard in that picture you showed.
Yeah.
They'll do his hair up, and he'll have that real beard. It'll be great. I mean, he's so funny. Like, his comic persona has never been tapped, I think. I mean, it was in Ghostbusters, but I think that I think the movie's going to be hilarious. I think it's going to be fun and wildly entertaining, and I really want to see this movie.
One other interesting note about this is a Netflix movie. This is not a theatrical release film. It is going to be a direct-to-Netflix film. It could still be very, very interesting, but just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. Interesting choice. All right.
What a bizarre casting, I feel like.
That's just what I felt too. Like, I think he's a great actor, but I completely caught me off guard.
And those muscles in that photo, that was his real arm. I cannot believe how jacked he is now.
Yeah.
He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He ain't a small guy. He ain't.
I mean, I guess tall man.
Yeah,
So-
he's a tall dude, and I guess if you're gonna play Thor, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess you got to make sure you look like the God of Thunder, and he's looked like he's thundering it up. All right, Ashley, let's move on to the next.